Welcome back to the channel. So, I know I said I was working on the rudder, but it turns out I found the missing clips, or some of the missing clips, to the horizontal stabilizer build. So the first part of this video is us finishing up that rear spar on the horizontal stabilizer. Right now you can see I'm match drilling all of the holes on the stiffeners and the spar to number 30. And then we're going to go ahead and move those clecos over and get the remaining holes that were previously held by clecos. The second part of this video will go into the rudder skeleton, or the start of the build. On the downside, I thought I had everything I needed to build the rudder, but it turns out one of the ribs was actually on back order. Good news is, Vans emailed me yesterday and said all of my back ordered parts are in and they're about to be shipped, so I guess we can keep right on moving along with the project. So, finishing up the rest of these holes, Tiffany is making labels and sorting out the remainder of the parts. We decided we didn't want to keep any of them in mass bags anymore. We're just going to sort them out by individual parts, since the plans always just call for part numbers, not bag numbers. And now we're going to start referencing the plans, because it turns out some of those holes have to be sized differently for the hinges that are going on there. And this is a process of me counting over to make sure I've got the right hole lined up, and then Tiffany was verifying and backing up that yes, I can actually count correctly, and then committing to drilling the larger holes. Okay, so now we're getting the reinforcements put on, and then we're getting the brackets installed for the hinges and the bearings, and now final size drilling those. And of course, like everything else on the plane, once this is all done and we have it clecoed together and everything is exactly the way it needs to be, then it all comes back apart again. Everything has to get cleaned, deburred. In this case, some of the parts primed. And then these parts won't get put back together until we get the remaining horizontal stabilizer parts, so we can rivet ribs and everything else to the back edge of this spar. See a guest appearance by my daughter wandering through the shop there. And don't be alarmed, every now and then you may see a donkey or two pop up out on the carport. We've got a couple of them that just kind of free range wherever they want to go, and no fences contain them yet. So every now and then they'll stop by and say hi. Okay, so here we are at the next day. I've started working on the rudder skeleton. It's the rear spar with the reinforcements on it. Now I've grabbed a stack of sheet aluminum. I'm trying to sort it out and find the 032 thickness, because I got 3 different parts I have to make from that. So now you're going to see me breaking out pretty much every different straight edge I have, trying to find the one that I like to use the best. I'm not sure why, but nothing seemed to work right. And then it's back and forth to the plans, making sure I've got the measurements exactly right before I commit to starting to cut these things. And then all of the cuts are going to be done on the bandsaw and then cleaned up over on the Scotch-Brite wheel. And I've started working on the second one of those parts I need to work on. You see me dig in the drawer there. I'm getting out a 1/2 inch diameter washer, trick I learned from someone else. I need to make a 1/4 inch round radius on the end of that little bar that I'm fabricating. So take a 1/2 inch diameter washer, put it on the end, and trace around the corners, and gives me the perfect 1/4 inch radius to trace onto. Alright, here we are back later that night. I'm now about to commit to cutting that R710 piece. The van's directions have you cut between these two notches to make a line, and I'm showing it to the camera right there. But after reading ahead, thankfully, on several people's forums, it turns out if you cut to that line, it ends up so short that when you drill the rivet holes in it that need to be there, they're too close to the edge. So I made one line where Van said to use it, and then I made another line a little further away, and then I used, you saw I was thinking about using the tin snips there, but I ended up using the air nibbler to cut the bulk of that off since I couldn't get it onto the bandsaw easily. And then I used the disc sander to cut to my conservative line, and then I started test fitting the part to see how close to cut it until I finally got it the right fit without getting too close for that edge distance. And I think I ended up with a happy in between. I'll show some final pictures hopefully here at the end of this video. Alright, so now I'm just cleaning everything up, getting all those edges nice and smooth again after cutting it. I think I got the deburr tool out there and I'm just going after the inside radiuses. A little Scotch-Brite action. And once I'm happy with it, I'm going to start fitting all of those parts together and clecoing them together to make sure that it all fits. I still haven't drilled those holes to make sure the edge distance is good, but I do have it all fitted up and it's ready to drill as of today. Now I'm going back and forth to the plans because the way these parts go together is a little tricky. Some of them overlap while some of them go underneath and some of them go around, and you have to get the order just right or none of them fit exactly the way they're supposed to. Need to figure out a closer place to put those plans too. It's kind of a pain having to walk over there to look at it every time I'm trying to think of something or figure something out. Maybe I'll hang them on the wall behind the bench. Putting the reinforcement plates back on, and then that's going to be it for this video.